Chapter 4. Visual Basic Visual Studio 2017. Topics covered: Fundamentals of Visual Basic, Event-Driven Programming, Overview of the Visual Studio 2017 Express for Windows Desktop Application Program, Controls in a Form, Some Basic Functions in Visual Basic, Opening and Closing of VB Program in VS Express. Visual Basic. The Language Basic provided text-only environment. Visual Basic is an extended version of the language. Some of the features of Visual Basic are stated below. Unlike Basic, it is a visual and event-driven programming language. It is simple and easy to learn. It provides a visual and graphical environment for programming and developing graphical user interface (GUI) applications. The first ever version of Visual Basic was released by Microsoft Corporation in 1991 with the help of Alan Cooper. Since then, there have been total 6 different versions of Visual Basic released: 1.0, 1.0 for MS-DOS, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0 and 6.0. The latest version was released in 1998. After which Microsoft moved Visual Basic to the .NET framework, which included total 7 versions: Visual Basic .NET, Visual Basic .NET 2003, Visual Basic 2005, Visual Basic 2008, Visual Basic 2010, Visual Basic 2012 and Visual Basic 2017. Before we discuss and try to understand the working of this language, you must know the meaning of the term event-driven programming. Event-driven programming. Whenever some action is performed on a graphical component, an event is generated. For example, while filling a form, you provide various kinds of details including your personal and professional details, and to do so, you perform various actions such as key press, mouse click, etc. To every such action, the application on which you are working responds accordingly. Now, in the application, you may click on a certain object randomly. So, in order to respond to these random actions, each object has to be programmed independently. These responses that the application gives on the actions you perform are known as events, and the programming executed to respond to these events independently is known as event-driven programming. Visual Basic is one such programming language which contains many subprograms, each having their own programming codes and each able to be executed independently. These programs are executed at the same time and can be linked together in one way or the other. Visual Studio 2017 Express for Windows Desktop. To create a Visual Basic program, you will have to download an integrated development environment, IDE, named Visual Studio. It is like a text editor for Visual Basic programs as well as other corresponding languages such as Visual C#, Visual C++ and SQL Server. You can download and run the VS Express application program easily from the following link. Starting VS Express. To open the VS Express application, follow the steps given below. Step 1. Open the Start menu and scroll down to the letter V. Step 2. Select the VS Express for Windows Desktop option from the list. The Start page in the Microsoft Visual Studio Express 2017 Windows Desktop window appears. Step 3. Click Create New Project option in the New Project section. The New Project dialog box appears. Step 4. Select the Visual Basic option from the Install drop-down list on the left side of the dialog box. Step 5. Select the Windows Form App, .NET Framework option in the middle section. Step 6. Type a name for the file in the name text box and set the location of the file. Step 7. Click OK. The Windows Forms app window appears with the project in the sub-window. Components of the window. Given below in the image are displayed the components of the Windows Forms app window. Read below to know about all the components. Title bar. The title bar, present at the top of the window, displays the name of the project along with the application name. It also contains the quick launch search text box and control buttons. Menu bar. The menu bar, placed just below the title bar, contains various menus, including File, Edit, View, Project, Build, Debug, Team, Format, Tools, Test, Window and Help menus. Each menu provides various options that allows you to perform different operations. Toolbar. The toolbar, present below the menu bar, contains the frequently used task options such as Navigate backwards, New Project, Open File, Save, Save All and so on. Toolbox tab. The Toolbox tab contains the toolbox which contains controls available in Visual Basic such as pointer, button, label, list view, text box, etc. You can close it by clicking the Close button. Form window. A form is the basic component of a Visual Basic program which allows you to interact with the application. The form window provides you with a blank form on which you can place various controls to create an application, and the form and controls together forms the GUI of a Visual Basic application. Solution Explorer window. A solution is an arrangement for putting three Visual Basic projects in order. The Solution Explorer window lists all the forms and controls of a particular project. You can view and manage the forms and controls in a project using this window. Code Editor window. The Code Editor window is used to write and edit the Visual Basic code. To open this window, simply double-click the form window. Properties window. The properties of a form describes the characteristics of any control inserted in the form such as its color, size, name, font and caption. Cyber Tidbits. A project is a collection of forms, controls and modules. Modes of the window. There are three different modes of the Viz Express application window: Design mode, in which an application is designed; Run mode, in which an application is executed; and Break/suspended mode, which appears when the execution of an application is halted due to some errors. Properties, methods and events. Every control that you insert in a program code contains a set of properties, methods and events. The properties define the characteristics of a control, the methods define the actions that can be performed on the control, and the events define the occurrence of actions performed by the user on the control. Various controls in VB. The objects which are placed or inserted in a form to receive input and display output are known as the controls. Let us learn about some of the most commonly used controls in VB. Properties. Methods. Events. Name, to rename the form using the name property. Text, to specify the title of the form. ForColor, to set the color of the text and graphics to be displayed on the form. BackColor, to set the background color of the form. Show, to make the form visible on the screen. Hide, to make the form invisible from the screen. Activate, to activate the form. Close, to close the form. Load, occurs when the form is loaded into the memory and displayed on the screen at runtime. Disposed, occurs when the form is closed. Label control. The label control is used to display some information on the interface which cannot be altered during the execution of the program. Some of the properties, methods and events associated with the label control are explained below. Properties. Methods. Events. Name, to give a name to the label, which is used for refer to the label while writing the program. Text, to specify the text to be displayed on the label. Font, to set the font attributes of the text to be displayed in the label. ForColor, to set the color of the text to be displayed in the label. BackColor, to set the background color of the label. Show, to make the label visible on the screen. Hide, to make the label invisible from the screen. Focus, sets input focus to the label. Click, occurs when you click on the label. Double-click occurs when you double-click on the label. Text box control. The text box control is used to receive input as well as display output to the user. Some of the properties, methods and events associated with the text box control are explained below. Properties. Methods. Events. Name, to give a name to the text box. Max length, to specify the maximum length of the text that can be entered in the text box. Font, to set the font attributes of the text to be displayed in the text box. Password char, to hide the text with special characters, like asterisk, usually for a password, or any other code. Clear, clears all the text from the text box. Copy, copies the selected text in the text box and stores it in the clipboard. Focus, sets input focus to the text box. Show, to make the text box visible on the screen. Hide, to make the text box invisible on the screen. Text changed, occurs when you change the text of the text box. Click, occurs when you click on the text box. Double-click, occurs when you double-click on the text box. Button control. The button control is used to give commands to the program. When the button is clicked, an event occurs and the program is executed accordingly. Some of the properties, methods and events associated with the button control are explained below. Properties. Methods. Events. Name, to give a name to the button. Text, to specify the text to be displayed on the button. Font, to set the font attributes of the text to be displayed in the button. Select, to activate the button control. Show, to make the button control visible on the screen. Hide, to hide the button control from the screen. Text changed, occurs when you change the text appearing in the button control. Click, occurs when you click on the button. Double-click, occurs when you double-click on the button. Working with the controls. Let us now learn how to work with the controls. You can insert a control and change its properties in the form as well as in the run mode. Inserting controls in the form. To add a control in the form, follow the steps given below. Step 1. Click the Toolbox tab. The toolbox appears with various tools on it. Note that, in this image the toolbox is pinned to the screen by clicking the button. Step 2. Click on the desired tool from the list. For example, we select the option text box. Step 3. Click and drag the mouse in the form to insert the selected control. Cyber tidbits. To insert a control in the form, you can also double-click on the icon of the desired control in the toolbox. The control will be placed on the top left corner of the form. Now, you can resize the control, relocate the control and define the properties of the control in the form. To move a control, place the cursor on it and when the cursor turns to, click and drag the control to the desired position. To resize the control, place the cursor on the edge and when the cursor changes to, click and drag the pointers horizontally, vertically or diagonally. Changing the properties of a control. To change the properties of the controls in design mode, follow the steps given below. Step 1. Select the control whose property you want to change. Step 2. Locate and set/change the desired property inside the properties window. For example, we change the font, text and max length properties of the text box we inserted previously. Cyber tidbits. If you want to set the font attributes of the text in the text box, you can click the button next to the font text box in the properties window and select the desired font settings in the font dialog box. When you complete setting the properties, the text box in the form will appear like in the image given below. To change the properties of the controls in run mode, follow the steps given below. Step 1. Double-click on the control. The code editor window appears. Step 2. Write the code to change the desired property by using the syntax given below. Name of the control property value given below is a program to change the color of the text in the text box. Public class form1 private subtext box text changed sender as object, E as event args, handles text box 1 dot text changed, text box 1 dot for color equals color, coral, end sub, end class. Step 3. Press the 5 key on the keyboard to run the program. Another window opens up with the name of the form. You can stop the execution of the program by clicking the cross button on the form window. Some commonly used functions in Visual Basic. Functions are built-in block of codes in a program which performs operations in a specific order, using some values called arguments. Given below are some of the most commonly used functions in Visual Basic. Message box function. The message box function is used to display messages to the user in the form of a message box. Syntax: value equals msg box message, style a value, title where. Value is the variable which stores the value returned by the msg box function. Message refers to the message that is displayed in the message box. The maximum length of the message is 1024 characters. Style value specifies the type of command button that is displayed in the message box. Title refers to the text that is displayed in the title bar of the message box. The parameter style value can take various values, some of which are listed in the following table. Style value. Buttons displayed: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. OK. OK. Cancel. OK. Abort. Retry. Ignore. Yes. No. Cancel. Yes. No. Retry. Cancel. Input box function. The input box function is used to accept value from the user. Syntax: value input box message, title, default text where. Value: it is the variable which stores the value entered by the user. Message: it refers to the text which is displayed in the input box. This argument is mandatory. Title: it refers to the text that is displayed in the title bar of the input box. Default text: it specifies the string that appears in the text box of the input box. When it appears on the screen, the user can override this text by typing the new text. It is an optional argument. Saving a Visual Basic application. When you create a Visual Basic program in V's Express application, you mention the name and location of the file as well as the project. After working on the program to save the changes, simply click the File menu and select the Save or Save All option. The VB program will be saved with the extension VB and the project will be saved with the extension SLN. You can also press the keyboard key combination Ctrl+S to use the Save option and Ctrl+Shift+S to use the Save All option. Opening an existing VB project. To open an existing Visual Basic program in V's Express application program, follow the steps given below. Step 1. Click the File menu and then click Open Project or press the keyboard key combination Ctrl+O. The Open Project dialog box appears. Step 2. Locate the desired file and click the Open button.